you know, it's, you straight. You did it like, I'm 15, 16 years old. And she laying on the couch. And I'm sitting on the other end, and she laid down on the couch and put her head in my lap. I'm like, damn. He can't be talking about Mary was talking about she wanted me to come back up here, and now she on my lap. And I'm sitting there and I'm wondering, I'm like, okay, what is this gonna end up to? And she stayed a couple more hours. And we decided to go in the other room because it was a suite. We went in another room and lay down. And she lay down with me, and she kind of like backed up against me. And every time she backed up against me, I would move away and shit, you know?
Phew, y'all. Danny Boy just came out swinging with some jaw-dropping receipts that have the internet in a frenzy. He's pointing fingers at Diddy and Mary J. Blige, claiming they lured him into a threesome when he was just 15 years old. Yep, you read that right. Now, word on the street is that Danny might be called to testify in Diddy's upcoming trial. And if what he's saying is true, things are about to get way more complicated. See, for years there have been whispers about celebrities who may have helped cover up or even enabled some of Diddy's more controversial actions. And now, Mary J. Blige's name is being tossed into the mix, allegedly as more than just a bystander. According to Danny, she wasn't just involved with him, she targeted him. And even more explosive, he says she wasn't the only one. But buckle up because the tea gets hotter. Danny is now alleging that Mary ended up pregnant with Diddy's child, and that Diddy later forced her to terminate the pregnancy. So here's the big question. Was Mary a victim caught up in Diddy's alleged web, or was she a co-conspirator in the madness? And then there's the Tupac angle. Rumors are swirling that Mary might have even been cheating on Tupac with Danny. Whew, this is next-level drama, and it's got everyone scratching their heads. Let's rewind a bit. The allegations trace back to the mid-90s, right after the infamous 1995 Source Awards. Danny Boy, then a young rising artist signed to Death Row Records, was just 15 when he says it all went down. He claims he was at a hotel after-party packed with big names: Mary J. Blige, Misa Hilton, Diddy's ex and baby mama, and other industry insiders. Danny says he was chilling in his room when someone invited him to come join the festivities. When he showed up, he was starstruck by Mary. She was already a powerhouse in the game, and he'd been a fan for years. They all hung out, shared drinks, and eventually he went back to his own room, until someone came knocking again. This time, he was told that a woman wanted to see him. Thinking it might be one of the other party guests, he made his way over, only to find Mary and Misa waiting for him. Just the three of them. According to Danny, what followed wasn't just a one-time thing. It was part of a disturbing culture in the music industry, one where powerful adults preyed on young artists, who didn't have the tools or power to say no. He says Diddy not only knew about the encounter, but may have even facilitated it. So now, with Diddy's legal troubles piling up and more names getting dragged into the light, people are starting to wonder, who else was involved? And how deep? Does this rabbit hole really go? Stay tuned, because this story is far from over.
We was talking, I think I left out, and Suge called me back up to the room. He said, come back upstairs, man, or old girl want to see you. This old girl. I'm thinking one of the other girls. Mary's sitting on the couch. So I know the girl that he in the bed with don't want me either. So I went in, he closed the door and shit, and I sit down and I start talking to Mary. And inside, I'm about to lose it, because I'm actually sitting here talking to Mary. She's sitting on the couch and shit, and we ordered some food and some more drinks.
Danny went on to paint a pretty intense scene. He said that while he was sitting on the couch with Mary, things took an unexpected turn. Out of nowhere, there was a knock at the door, and just like that, the vibe shifted. According to Danny, Mary suddenly panicked. She jumped up and tried to hide, clearly shaken. Why? She thought it might be her boyfriend at the time, Casey from Jodeci. Now, if you know anything about their past, you know that relationship had a reputation for being turbulent and at times allegedly violent. So it's no surprise Mary feared he might show up unannounced and cause a scene, or worse. But as it turned out, it was a false alarm. When Mary realized it wasn't Casey, she relaxed. And according to Danny, she picked up right where she left off. He claimed she rested her head on his lap, started getting touchy, and before he knew it, things escalated quickly. The energy shifted fast, and what started as a quiet moment turned into something much more intense.
15, 16 years old. And she laying on the couch. And I'm sitting on the other end, and she laid down on the couch and put her head in my lap. I'm like, damn. He can't be talking about Mary was talking about she wanted me to come back up here, and now she on my lap. And I'm sitting there and I'm wondering, I'm like, okay, what is this gonna end up to? And she stayed a couple more hours. And we decided to go in the other room because it was a suite. We went in the other room and laid down. And she laid down with me and she kind of like backed up against me. And every time she backed up against me, I would move away and shit, you know?
According to Danny, that night didn't just end with some heavy flirting, it went all the way. He claimed they slept together, and while that alone raises serious red flags given his age at the time, the story doesn't stop there. In fact, Danny said it blossomed into a full-blown secret affair. He described how Mary would fly him out to New York to spend time with her, keeping their relationship under wraps. And here's where it gets even more complicated. Danny said Mary made him believe he was her actual boyfriend. From his perspective, it wasn't just a fling. He genuinely thought they were in a committed relationship. What he didn't know back then, according to him, was that Mary was also still romantically involved with both Tupac and Kechi around that same time. So while he believed he was her, one and only, he was really just one part of a much messier love triangle, or maybe even a square.
From that time, I had an opportunity to go out to New York and visit her a couple more times. Well, you know, that's why I was kind of confused when I heard Kurt saying that Mary was pot girl. Because at that time, she was my girl. At that time, I'm 15, 16 years old, and she flying me in to see her. And you know what it is when a girl back up on you, you young, and I'm trying to show her that she ain't phasing me.
Despite everything, Danny still insists it wasn't just a fling. He truly believed they were in a real relationship. He says the time they spent together felt genuine to him, but in hindsight, it's clear Mary didn't see it the same way. What he thought was love may have meant something very different to her.
Early on, you was messing with Mary.
Well,
okay,
you know,
how did you think about that?
That time I wasn't.
You know,
I mean, I kind of was, but it wasn't.
That's what I'm saying. How did you think? Like, what did you feel like? Okay, yeah, I like Mary, or you just was like, was she taking advantage of you because you were young?
No, I mean, you know, that was Mary J.
Because she was
Blige.
young too.
She was young too, and that was Mary J. Blige. And when I brought that story up, because a lot of people thought that I was like trying to Me Too. I mean, I wouldn't have used her. I got somebody I could Me Too if I want to, but it wouldn't be Mary. I said it in a conversation of, you know, somebody else was saying how Mary was somebody's girl, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute, no, it wasn't. No, it was my girl.
But here's where the story takes a sharp turn. According to Danny Boy, Mary didn't come up with all of this on her own. He claims she was influenced by none other than Diddy himself. Back in the day, Mary and Diddy were incredibly close. He was working at Uptown Records, helping shape her early career as she rose through the ranks as one of the label's breakout stars. Looking back, that tight bond is raising eyebrows. Several people have since come forward accusing Diddy of exploiting young artists while he was at Uptown, and Danny says he was one of them. According to him, Diddy didn't just know about Mary's involvement with him, he encouraged it. Danny claims that when he hesitated to get intimate with Mary, Diddy pressured him. Allegedly, he even threatened to sabotage Danny's budding music career if he didn't fall in line. And according to Danny, that's exactly what happened. He says his career hit a dead end, not because of lack of talent, but because he grew, tired of being used and manipulated. Allegedly, Diddy and Mary would summon him whenever they were in the mood, expecting him to drop everything at a moment's notice. If he didn't comply, there were consequences. Sound familiar? Because it echoes what Cassie and others have accused Diddy of: flying people out on demand, exploding in rage when things didn't go his way, and controlling every aspect of their lives. Danny's story paints a disturbing picture of the industry in the 90s, where Diddy allegedly ran things with unchecked power and surrounded himself with vulnerable young artists, especially under his Puffy Flavor Camp mentorship program. He had multiple young men living under his roof back then, and now all of it is being scrutinized under a new light. And what makes Danny's claims even more compelling is the undeniable, decades-long friendship between Diddy and Mary J. Blige. If you thought Diddy and Jay-Z were close, Diddy and Mary were practically inseparable during the early years. He helped produce her debut album, What's the 411? And publicly celebrated her talent every chance he got. In one interview, Diddy gushed, "Mary J. Blige is one of the greatest storytellers in R&B history. She created a lane for women around the world to speak their truth to power. More than being my sister and best friend, she will forever be a pioneer and the queen of hip-hop soul." But by the late 90s into the early 2000s, things between them took a nosedive. Their once strong relationship hit a serious rough patch, and it wasn't subtle. They stopped speaking altogether, publicly acting as if the other didn't exist. Years later, Mary opened up about that fallout and took full responsibility. She admitted she had been in a dark place and couldn't keep her life together, let alone maintain a friendship or professional bond with Diddy. It was a rare moment of vulnerability and honesty, and it slowly began to rebuild the bridge between them. But now, with these resurfaced allegations and deepening scrutiny on Diddy's past, that history is being re-examined in a whole new, and much darker, light. The road to rebuilding their relationship wasn't easy, but eventually, Mary and Diddy found their way back to working together again. Reflecting on their fallout, Mary opened up with raw honesty. "The real reason we split up," she said, "was me not understanding the business the way I needed to. He had a label, a female artist, and Biggie, but I was a mess. I was on drugs, I was self-sabotaging, and any smart man, any smart businessman would have backed away." She admitted that Diddy started to seem distant, but in hindsight, she realized why. "I wasn't showing up. I wasn't taking care of my health. How could he bet on me when I couldn't even bet on myself?" That self-awareness helped them patch things up professionally, at least on the surface. But beneath that, darker, rumors were festering. Rumors that, if true, take their story into deeply disturbing territory. According to Danny Boy, the relationship between Mary and Diddy wasn't just problematic. It was toxic and traumatizing. He claimed their private moments were far from tender or respectful, alleging that Diddy was rough and demanding with Mary, even pushing her to use a strap-on on him to satisfy his fantasies. Danny also brought up a heartbreaking allegation that Mary once became pregnant by Diddy, but he didn't want the baby, and allegedly forced her to terminate the pregnancy. That moment, Danny says, broke something in her. He claimed it affected Mary so deeply that she decided she would never have children. Mary herself hinted at that emotional scar in an interview, saying, "I have nieces and nephews forever. I'm always watching people scramble for babysitters. I don't want to go through that. I like my freedom to go and do what I want. I don't want to have to tend to someone all the time. Right now, that's where I'm at. I don't think having kids is going to happen." Despite all that history, Mary stayed close to Diddy for years. So when she recently began distancing herself, acting like they were never that close in the first place, fans were confused. Their bond had always seemed unbreakable, like they'd left the past behind. But suddenly, Mary was downplaying their relationship, saying she'd cut ties with him long ago. Insiders say there's a reason for the switch-up. The feds have reportedly started digging into Diddy's past, and Mary's name has popped up in the process. Word is, she's trying to get ahead of whatever might be coming, distancing herself before things explode. And according to some sources, her long-hidden affair with Danny Boy might be one of the skeletons she's desperate to keep buried. Now, legally, the statute of limitations has likely run out, so she probably can't be charged. But still, the last thing Mary J. Blige wants is to be publicly exposed as someone who allegedly engaged in a relationship with a teenager and, worse, helped coerce him into sexual encounters. That's a reputation killer, especially for someone hailed as the queen of hip-hop soul, and just when you think it can't get messier. Rumors are starting to swirl that Mary might also know more than she's letting on about what really happened to Aaliyah. Yep, that Aaliyah. the one whose tragic death in a 2001 plane crash shocked the world. While the official story has always been labeled a tragic accident, whispers in the industry have long suggested there may be more to it. Now, some are saying Diddy, and possibly members of his inner circle, might have been closer to that truth than anyone realized. And Mary? Allegedly, she might know too. Would you like me to continue with the Aaliyah portion and expand that into the next section? Aaliyah wasn't even supposed to be in the Bahamas that day. Originally, the music video shoot was set to happen in Florida. Everything was lined up and ready to go. But at the last minute, director Hype Williams made a sudden change, relocating the shoot to the Bahamas without even consulting Aaliyah. It was an odd move, but she went along with it. Once on the island, things seemed to run smoothly. The video wrapped earlier than expected, and the team began packing up. But because the shoot ended ahead of schedule, no return transportation had been arranged yet. Wanting to leave, Aaliyah reached out to her friend Lenny Kravitz, who generously offered to send his private jet to bring her home. That's when things took a strange and unsettling turn. Hype Williams allegedly intervened and stopped her from boarding Lenny's jet. He insisted that he had already made other arrangements for her and the crew. When the plane he booked finally arrived, it was clearly too small and overloaded for a safe flight, yet they boarded anyway. Worse still, reports later revealed that the pilot was under the influence of substances at the time. Aaliyah, sensing something was off, initially refused to get on the plane. But according to disturbing claims that have surfaced over the years, someone allegedly gave her a sedative, and she was carried aboard while unconscious. Moments after takeoff, tragedy struck. The small, overloaded plane crashed, killing Aaliyah and everyone else on board. Mary J. Blige has often spoken about Aaliyah's death with a tone that hints at deeper meaning, more than just grief. Not long after the accident, Mary publicly stated that she believed Aaliyah's death wasn't just a tragic mishap, it was a spiritual murder. She hinted there were darker forces at play, something that's never sat right with her, something the public still doesn't fully know, and in the shadow of all these resurfacing stories about Diddy, Danny Boy, and the industry's long-buried secrets, Mary's cryptic words are beginning to sound a lot less like speculation and more like a warning.
I was a, you know what I'm saying? I was a spiritual, whether people know it or not, because God don't kill people. You know what I'm saying? Whether people know it or not. And I could go deep, but a lot of people I would have to really bring who, you know what I'm saying? For what I learned. And she just was cut down in the prime of her life. Yeah. And it's so unfair. And it wasn't time. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't, I believe it wasn't her time to go because from what I know, it ain't supposed to go down like that. Yeah. And just simple obedience, like, you know, your gut always warns you. That your gut never lies to you. And something like luggage and clothes and jewelry and all this madness that we worship is called false idols. We need to really look at the bigger
Now, Mary
picture
J.
right
Blige
now.
never publicly named names back then, but those close to the situation say she did believe Diddy might have had a hand in what happened to Aaliyah. Whispers around the industry claimed that Diddy stood to gain millions from her untimely death. And here's where things get even more unsettling. The eerie detail about Aaliyah possibly being sedated before boarding the plane. That lines up disturbingly well with the stories women have recently shared about Diddy, alleging eerily similar tactics used to control and exploit them. And as wild as that sounds, the rumor mill didn't stop spinning there. Allegedly, Aaliyah had dirt, serious dirt, on both Diddy and R. Kelly. We all know how R. Kelly manipulated her when she was just 15, shaping her into a mirror image of himself. If Aaliyah did know too much, especially about the twisted underbelly of the industry and the power players behind it, then maybe those long-whispered suspicions about her death being more than a tragic accident aren't so far-fetched after all. Yes, Mary was once deep in Diddy's inner circle. But lately, she's made it crystal clear she's done playing nice. She even posted a pointed message on Instagram that read, "Unfortunately, a lot of you met me when I lacked boundaries and was a people pleaser. Let me reintroduce myself. I burn bridges. As needed." That right there? Not just a caption, a statement. And honestly, it's not shocking that Mary would want to put some serious distance between herself and Diddy right now. Especially with all the allegations swirling, not just about Danny Boy, but about her involvement in other alleged freak-off situations.